VST, or Virtual Studio Technology, is a protocol created by Steinberg that creates a standardized way to integrate many different plugins into a digital audio workstation. VST creates cross-compatibility of plugins between different digital audio workstations made by different companies, and in some cases even allows VST hardware processing that has been developed for live performances. In this video, we'll cover what VST plugins are, where they came from, and how they can be used to expand your digital audio workstation's capabilities well beyond what's included with it. A VST plugin is a small program that can be run within a digital audio workstation, allowing for additional effects and instruments to be added by different developers. VST is an SDK, or software development kit, available from the company Steinberg, which develops audio software such as Cubase and hardware such as audio and MIDI interfaces. The standardization of VST by Steinberg allowed for thousands of different plugins to be created by multiple different developers. VST plugins can create their own sounds or be used to simulate the processing provided by different hardware audio processors over the years. On the user end, a VST plugin is added onto an audio, instrument, or MIDI track and opens into a graphical user interface that has knobs, sliders, buttons, and other controls to tweak whatever controls the VST plugin includes. Many of them also include presets and allow their controls to be saved. The complexity and view of the plugin is dependent on the developer, and the function of the plugin should be consistent no matter what digital audio workstation it's added to. VST was first released by Steinberg, the maker of the Cubase digital audio workstation, as part of Cubase 3.02 back in 1996. Version 2.0 of VST was released in 1999, which the major change being that the VST plugins could now receive and work with MIDI data. This allowed developers to start creating a variety of virtual instruments, as the plugins could receive MIDI data from a MIDI track or MIDI instrument and output audio that's generated from either a synthesizer, sampler, or a drum machine. All of this could happen directly inside a digital audio workstation without the need to use external hardware. Steinberg released their first VST instrument with VST version 2 named Neon. Neon was a polyphonic synthesizer with 2 oscillators, ADSR envelopes, an LFO, and a resonant filter. They re-released it as part of the VST Classics 2.0 package back in 2012, but it's since no longer available. VST version 2 was discontinued back in 2013, with development of further plugins stopped as of 2018, when Steinberg no longer provided the software development kit for update. Steinberg's VST SDK is currently on version 3 as of 2008, with some minor versions that have been introduced in between. Major improvements available as of VST 3 included the ability for VST instruments to also accept an audio input, multiple MIDI inputs and outputs per plugin instance, and computer performance improvements. As of the time of creating this video, Steinberg is currently on VST 3.7.6, with the last update released in September 2022. VST plugins are compatible with most digital audio workstations including Cubase, Reason, Ableton Live, Cakewalk by BandLab, and Studio One, but requires additional tools to convert plugin types to use it in Pro Tools, as Pro Tools uses the AAX plugin format, and Logic Pro for Mac, which is compatible with the AU plugin format. VST plugins have numerous different types of functions that can be used in a digital audio workstation. Broadly speaking, VST plugins can be classified as audio effects, audio analyzers, virtual instruments, and MIDI effects. Audio effects plugins are things like compressors, reverbs, and equalizers. They take in an audio signal and send out an audio signal at the other end, but are also capable of responding to MIDI commands to tweak their controls on the fly, such as we would do with automation or a MIDI controller. Audio effects can be quite simple, like a gain or boost control, or be a lot more complex, including effects such as guitar amp simulation that's based on real guitar amps and transforms a direct recorded guitar signal into a studio quality recording. Some other types of more complex audio effects include auto-tune plugins that take in a simple vocal track, analyze all the pitch, and adjust it to sound more on pitch. Audio analyzers again can take in an audio signal, but their goal is not to adjust the audio signal in any way. The signal that goes into this processor comes out exactly as it went in, and the audio analyzer plugins can be used for things like frequency analysis that provide a graphical display of the audio levels across the frequency spectrum as we're mixing. VST instruments work a little differently than audio effects in that they don't primarily take in an audio signal. Instead, a VST instrument will take in a MIDI signal either recorded to a MIDI or instrument track or directly from a MIDI instrument or controller. The VST instrument plugin then outputs an audio signal that it directly generates within the plugin. VST instruments have a few ways of doing this, and it's basically either directly generating the audio from different wave generators and signal paths that modulate each other to create different synthesizer sounds, or with sampled instruments that can be recorded and manipulated. The options for VST instruments available today are pretty much limitless. The last type of VST effect that's available are MIDI effects. These work similar to audio effects except with MIDI. They take in a MIDI signal and output a MIDI signal. There's no audio generated with these types of effects. They can do things like transpose the pitch of the notes that are played up or down, or act as an arpeggiator for chords to play multiple single notes in sequence. The MIDI output from this plugin can then go to the next processor or a VST plugin in the signal chain, which can then be something like a VST instrument to generate an audio signal. Thanks for checking out this video on Virtual Studio Technology by Steinberg and VST plugins. If this video helped you out, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon to get notified whenever a new video is released. You can also check the video description for links to social media accounts to stay up to date on all our new content.